everybody, Vanessa here with the Red Circle podcast, talking about conspiracy theories. That's something that Ed and I both love very, very much. I don't know. It's fun to talk to you about it because nobody else in my life likes them. They're like, okay, whatever. So I like our talks.
I think a lot of people are, they've been programmed to be anti-conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Which is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really dumb. And I would say mainly because if you think about it this way, do you think people get together and conspire against other people?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what a conspiracy theory is. It's just trying to figure out people that are conspiring together to meet a similar goal.
Exactly.
That's all a conspiracy theory is.
And then to be programmed, I think you're right. I think people are programmed to, like, they hear something, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, and they just shut it off. They don't even want to take anything in. And one thing I like about you is that you've been around conspiracy theories for so long. I feel like you're an OG. Like, you know all the OGs, and I mean, not personally, but you know about them.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to learn about that.
They're my homies.
What's up?
No, it's part, I think also part of what the way that I am that way is because I was Christian, super Christian. So I was like anti-popular thought.
Yeah.
So when I would go to school and it was Halloween, I would be like, I don't celebrate Halloween.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, I'm not drawing your ghost in my picture in second grade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not coloring this. This is anti-God.
Yeah.
And I'm there like standing for principles at like 6 years old.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's a strong foundation.
Yeah, but that's what kind of I think has led to me being anti what necessarily authority is telling me. Right? Because I, as a kid, was in a room full of all my peers and the teacher, and I was not conforming. Yeah. And I did that forever. Yeah. You know, and it wasn't just Halloween; it was a lot of things. Yeah. You know, it was a lot of things. Like I remember my son even like he got that little note sent home for sex ed. Yeah. And I was like, no, I'll tell you about sex. Yeah. Don't worry. Yeah. You'll figure it out. You know what I mean? You don't need to watch a video of a woman giving birth to understand sex. You don't need to see some random lady's vagina like getting all huge and a baby coming out and be terrified like that. You don't need to know that. Was that your experience? Did you see all those things at school? No, I didn't, but I know that's what other people did. Oh gosh. You know, and like at my age, like, okay, whatever, like I don't want to see it. Yeah. And I'm a grown, I've seen it in person and I wasn't excited about it. You know what I mean? It's terrifying. Oh gosh. But kind of way off subject. But I'm saying more that, you know, like just because the authority tells you to do something doesn't mean you should do it. Yeah. You know, what's that infamous saying that they used to always tell us? Your friends jump off a bridge, will you jump off a bridge too? Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's all you're telling me to do all the time is to jump off the bridge with all of you guys. Yeah. Especially during 2020. Oh, I was like thinking for myself, and like I remember looking up different studies on masking, for example, and talking to people about it and being like, well, this is what the studies show. And they're like, oh, you read studies? Oh, you can read Yes, I can read. And I don't know all the words, and then I can look them up. Imagine? It's so crazy. And then I can find the doctors that did those studies and the scientists, and then I can listen to them talk about it on the internet and explain it more. Do you want to read the studies? And they're like, no, we're good. Now, he's going against the science, but whatever. Yeah. No, yeah, you're a science denier. Yeah. Well, here's studies, scientific studies. Like, you're denying the studies, actually. Yeah. Or it was so funny, too. Like, this is new information. Like, the information on masking is not new. Mm-hmm. They have known the types of masks that work on virus, the types of masks that don't. Yeah, your homemade mask wasn't doing nothing. Yeah, something made out of a T-shirt. It's not doing anything. That's not doing anything for you. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing, especially when it comes to viruses and bacteria. Yeah, you're so literally tiny. Creating bacteria in your mask. A lot of the studies back to that even say that the original, what was the big one that killed everybody in
Was
the
it
early
the
1900s.
Spanish?
The Spanish flu.
Mm-hmm.
The Spanish flu. A lot of people at the end, a lot of the scientists believed at the end that the reason for the massive amount of deaths was because of the masks and because they were breathing in that bacteria over and over and over again, and they weren't sanitizing these masks.
Yes.
Because even an N95, I think, is only good for like
45 minutes.
Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour. Every time you breathe, you wet the material and it deteriorates it.
Yeah.
So
How
you
many
have to
people
switch it
had
out.
one hanging, in the thing? It was hanging from their visor or whatever, right?
We're reusing
or their
it.
knob, right? They've had it for 8 months, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but it's an N95.
Yeah.
It's legit.
You're not using it right.
Or a surgical mask,
Yes.
right, with little holes in the
Yes.
sides. It's not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like,
so bizarre.
it's
Living in
funny.
Twilight Zone.
What's that thing where they do it for? It's not social pressure, but it's like trying to get the sympathy from other people. Like, there's a name for it. Like, everybody was doing it because they were just trying to fit in.
Yeah.
But there's a name for it.
Yeah.
I can't remember. What
I had a girl ask me. She was like, "Well, because once I read, at first I was like all about the masks because I was afraid, like everybody, watching all these videos coming out of China and people falling over and smashing their head on the.
Hey, whatever happened to all that?
That
like,
never happened in real life.
all these. I remember
was
those
fake.
big box truck and they're just throwing bodies in the
Yeah,
back of the box
it's
truck.
like what's happening?
And I'm like,
Yeah.
we're gonna die.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like,
And she asked me, like, well, if it makes other people uncomfortable, why wouldn't you do that? And I'm like, because it's not my job to make you comfortable. It's my job to protect me, my family, and my kids.
That same thought would go to Rosa Parks in the back of the bus. Oh, it made people uncomfortable, so maybe we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is like, I believe truth is more important than your comfort.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? I believe that if even me being wrong about something, it's good that somebody can expose that in myself so that I don't live in a lie.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a lie.
Yes. You can learn and grow and do better. Yeah, totally.
It is crazy that people, they would just rather, it's like the Matrix again.
Yes.
People, it's like that guy, he's like, put me back in.
Yes.
The Matrix. But the problem is, once you learn all these things, you watch this show, you're going to be ruined for life. So if you don't want to be ruined for life, then maybe find somewhere else to watch, because I'm going to totally break all of your stereotypes.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just kind of get into a couple of them.
Okay.
I'm just going to kind of give you a brief overview, and then maybe one day we'll go into each one of them.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to kind of give you like...
It's like a history.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the number one like OG of all conspiracy theorists is Bill Cooper, or William Cooper. And William Cooper, he was kind of like a famous... first he was like a naval intelligence officer.
Okay.
And then he was like a shortwave radio officer. So he did a broadcasting on shortwave. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with shortwave. You ever seen people in the back of their yard and they have these big poles with big things? Or they have their car with these big radios?
My grandma dated a guy that had that.
Okay, they're doing it on their own on shortwave radio. Okay. And everything's there. They don't have to go through the internet. It's all done through shortwave.
Okay.
And the higher the pole, the further it'll go.
Distance, okay.
Right. Now, I'm not a shortwave expert, so if I'm incorrect, correct me in the comments. Shortwave was before my time.
Okay.
But a lot of original conspiracy theorists started on shortwave, unregulated by anything, because there's no way you can regulate. Even still to this day, they can't really regulate it.
Yeah.
He wrote pretty much the quintessential conspiracy theorist book, which is Behold a Pale Horse. It's a crazy book, and it's about his story of how he was exposed to this information and how the whole government is run by a connection between the Illuminati and the aliens, so to speak, right? And he was a big believer in like alien stuff.
Yeah.
So he was a big alien guy.
Okay.
And that's what he started his show. Supposedly, when he was in the Navy intelligence, in his service during Vietnam and stuff, they gave him this higher ranking security clearance, which was like a Q clearance. He died in November of 2001.
Okay.
He actually was killed by the sheriff's department. Supposedly he shot first, but they shot him and killed him. So he literally died. He's dead.
All right.
The dude's 100% dead.
How old was he? Do you know when he died?
So he was born in 41, so he was 58.
Okay.
The big thing is like conspiracy theories, his radio show. There's a million things he talks about. His big things too is about words. So he kind of was a wordsmith. And you could tell when he talks, he's very intelligent.
Yeah.
So some people are like you can tell they're just not as intelligent. But even like you listen to the Alex Jones, and Alex Jones wasn't that intelligent. Like, not like you can see Will and Cooper, where you could see that he's just intellect. So he was just on a bunch of stuff. He was on radio. You know, a bunch of his big conspiracies was just about aliens and CIA and like the Illuminati and the Brotherhood and stuff. That was mostly of what his big things were. Definitely very X-Files-y. He kind of was like that late night AM radio guy.
Yeah.
So then you have David Icke.
Okay.
Most people hear of David Icke now.
Yeah.
David Icke, he kind of was a sports broadcaster because he played football. Football, not American football, but like real football.
Soccer?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a football player, professional football player. Then he became a broadcaster, and then he turned into a conspiracy theorist. His big thing was that he met a psychic, right? So David Icke in like 1990 met a psychic, and he went up to a mountain and had some vision, like, and probably on drugs. And he's very much into the new age stuff. Okay. So Bill Cooper was more into like, he would even say, he's like, don't bring in this funky stuff. If you can't prove it, don't say it. That was like a big thing Bill Cooper would say. Okay. David Icke, all that's out the window. Yeah. David Icke is like where you get all the crazy conspiracy theories. Yeah. So he's very new age. It's funny. All the kids now, they talk about good vibes only and all that stuff. He was talking about vibrations way back when. Yeah. Right? He talked about infinite dimensions. He's one of the big ones that talks about reptilians. Oh. So have you ever heard the reptilian theory, right? So he kind of is the one like the forethought of, he even has their names, you know what I mean? I forget the names, but he has like the reptilians, the humanoid reptilians, and how they work together in an underground base under like the Colorado, Denver airport. Yeah. He also talked about the Brotherhood, not so much the Illuminati, but more the Brotherhood. I don't know if because he's more European, he's not really American. He talked a lot about Saturn and the moon. And then more recently, he came under fire because he talked about 5G, COVID-19 and stuff. His negative thing that everybody talks about is they think he's an anti-Semite. Oh. So did he say anti-Semitic things? He spoke a lot against Zionism, but Zionism is very much associated to Judaism. But he's denounced any of those claims that he's an anti-Semite. But that's one of the big claims. They won't let him on shows, and they deplatformed him and all this kind of stuff. So he's been deplatformed as well. And he's still alive. He's still alive. Okay, now some of the more obscure ones. So you have like John Todd. John Todd was supposedly a he claimed he was a former witch, high-ranking witch from like a third degree, like not a third generation family. Okay. So the idea is that every time the new family gets it, and if they stay a witch, they have more powers. Oh. Right? So the more generations you keep, I guess, polluting, right? The bloodline, they get more things. So his name is John Todd, but his other last name is Collins. and the Collins is supposed to be like a witch bloodline.
Oh.
Okay. And then he converted to Christianity.
Okay. Did he denounce all the witch stuff? Interesting.
And it's funny because one of his big things, so he's coming from it from a occult background and a religious background where none of these others are. So that's why he's a little different.
Yeah.
You know, there's not like a lot of pictures of this guy. He's kind of an obscure, real strange character in the conspiracy theorist world.
Okay.
Out of the hierarchy of witches in Wicca, you get into the Illuminati, right? And in the Illuminati, you just get like these jobs. And his job was he oversaw the music industry.
Oh.
Yeah, and he would talk about how they would do seances and stuff to put curses in music, and how all the record labels were all controlled by witches.
Yeah.
And how and this was at the time where a lot of that stuff was coming out. You know, you play a record backwards and stuff like that, and you get these different things. And all of the artists were saying they're selling their soul to the devil.
Yeah.
And all of them were like taking drugs and then having visions, and then that's where they would get their music from.
Wow.
You know, and he's like all that is witchcraft. He's like, and it's funny when you look up the word sorcery in the Bible, because the word sorcery is in the Bible, it actually means drugs.
Oh.
So
that is interesting.
It is very interesting. So he converted in there. He made a bunch of records. He kind of went back and forth. He backslid one time and went back to doing witchcraft. He talked about it, and he said that there's nothing more addictive than witchcraft. It's more addictive than drugs. It's more addictive than sex. That the power that you get through doing witchcraft is ultra addictive.
Whoa.
Yeah. The ability to control demons and whatever, right?
Jeez. I've heard all of those things, but I didn't know that they came from him.
He exposed it before anybody was talking about it.
Yeah. Like
some people had talked about Illuminati, but they didn't tell. It was more like a governmental thing, right? And okay, so his story was he went to jail in the 80s, the late 80s. He was convicted of rape and sentenced to 30 years. He got out in 2004. They put him in a psychiatric ward.
Oh, damn.
And then he died there in 2007. So he had a crazy life.
Yeah.
He was in Vietnam. He said that in Vietnam he was part of a certain thing, but in Wikipedia they say that wasn't true. But he was in the army. The main guy that kind of connected, because he was kind of part of this church power, and then he was too crazy and they kind of kicked him out. The only one that kind of stuck by him was this guy that owned Czech Publications.
Okay.
You ever heard of Czech Publications?
I don't think so.
So most of you have seen them.
Okay.
So have you ever been to a restaurant, not recently, but a long time ago, where you would go there and they would have these little packets, and it would be at a little stand, and they would be like, do you want to go to hell? And they were printed, right? That's Czech Publications.
Oh, okay.
And Czech Publications is a Christian, crazy, out there, all the theories and stuff is kind of in Czech Publications. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that was published about witches all came from John Todd.
Wow.
Yeah. So two biggest claims that he kind of talks about was he talked a lot about the Illuminati and how the structure works, and he kind of opened up that world because he was in there. None of the other people really claimed that they were part of it, right? And then he talked a lot about this book called Atlas Shrugged. Atlas Shrugged is a book written by Ayn Rand. I've read it, and he claimed that it was the blueprint for the Illuminati to end the world. Wow. Rothschild, right, who most people have heard of, right, if you're in any of the conspiracy theorist world, commissioned Ayn Rand to write this book, and that he commissioned them so that she could explain, and that they were lovers or whatever. Ayn Rand, who doesn't look very pretty, but I don't know, how old Rothschild was at the time or anything, but that's the claim that they made, right?
Okay.
And so the idea was there's like a blueprint of it, right?
Yeah.
And talked a lot about that, right? So, but he would go places and he would kind of give his little testimony, and then he'd answer questions. And that's what's really fascinating, because this guy's like off the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
And either the guy is telling the truth, or he's, I don't know what they call it, a sociopath who believes in his own lies. Is that a sociopath?
Pathological liar?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Something like that. Because, you hear him and it doesn't sound like he's making it up.
He has like conviction.
Mhm.
I'm sure his stories like stayed pretty straight.
From what I can gather, and there's not a lot out there.
Yeah.
So it's funny that when I was looking up the history of these things to study for this thing, to prepare for this video, is how much they had on him on Wikipedia. And I was like, this guy has so much on Wikipedia for somebody that's like a blimp in the conspiracy theory world. Yeah. And you go to YouTube, you search him, there's like 5 videos and that's it. And they're all just regurgitated and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's kind of strange.
That is interesting.
So, it lends to the credibility of some of the stuff that he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times, especially if you're Christian, if somebody has a fall, maybe they, sleep with a girl or they get divorced or whatever. Yeah. They automatically dismiss the message of what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And there's probably some truth to doing that, but it's also like, hey, this guy's coming from this crazy background. If any of what he's saying is true, like, it's super crazy. Like, this guy, he really has to be careful because he's been so far down the dark side. Yeah. That it's hard for him to come back. Because he talked about like sex rituals and like drug rituals and then killing people in rituals and all that kind of crazy stuff, right? I
wonder, did you see if he was ever afraid of talking about these things? Like they're going to come back and...
Oh, that's all he would say. Yeah. He's like, they're after me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They say, we're going to kill you. Like that's a big part of his testimony.
Yeah. Yeah, because if the things he's saying are true and he was so involved and he knows the people and the things and all that, like he would be afraid.
Another thing interesting about him is that he spoke against a lot of the big evangelical pastors.
Really?
And he says that they were taking money from the Illuminati. And that they were all compromised.
Yeah.
That they would send, young prostitutes or girls or witches to go sleep with them. Mm-hmm. And to get documentation that they did, and then now they got them blackmailed for life.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you start seeing these people die, and then this stuff comes out.
Yeah.
Like recently, Ravi Zacharias did. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it's crazy, but I think that's the way they do it. It's kind of like the Epstein Island stuff.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
That's how you get those guys, you know what I mean? And guys are weak. You get them in a room with a girl and she takes off her clothes. It's hard for that dude to say no. You know what I mean? He's just not made to say no.
Yeah.
That's why one thing that, I forget who it was, and he says nowhere that he went, he wouldn't go alone. He would always go with 2 guys. Yeah. So he was never alone.
That's wise. Yeah. Interesting.
So... And then you have another guy, his name's Fritz Springmeier. Mm-hmm. He's probably one of the more obscure ones. He's really just an author. Yeah. He's not a big speaker. He didn't go around. He didn't have a radio show. He's been on other people's radio shows. Mm-hmm. He wrote this book, and it's called The 13 Bloodlines of the Illuminati. Mm-hmm. And it's like a freaking big book. Damn. It's a huge book. And it's got diagrams and pictures. Like, have you ever seen the picture of the pyramid and it's like black and white and it has the different layers and it has the people's names?
Yes.
That's from his book.
Okay.
That's from his book.
All right.
So he's kind of the one that like did the research to connect all these dots of like all the people that, and then he also had one where he put in like the different organizations that go into the pyramid, right? And how like everybody thinks like the government is like the top layer, but they're not.
Mm.
So he's just really a normal guy. You know, he wrote a couple books about the Illuminati. He wrote some books about like mind control. In 2002, he was indicted in connection to some type of armed robbery.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Oh, my gosh.
And he did like 51 months or 60 months or something like that. And then he was released in 2011. Hmm. So this guy did a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And you see this guy on video. This guy is like, he looks like a nerd. You know what I mean? He does not look like an armed robbery guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, and then I saw a whole thing where his wife wrote it. And she wrote like a thing like that he was never part of this. And so it was like some armed robbery happened and they didn't catch anybody. And then later, like through investigation, somehow he was connected. Oh. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that just makes conspiracy theories mind go crazy.
Yeah. Right? Especially so his wife was saying he wasn't a part of that armed robbery. Mm. He probably was saying that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they just randomly.
He denied it all. Right. Damn. He never admitted it. All that kind of stuff.
That
right?
sucks. So he was in jail for quite a while, like five-ish years?
Yeah, so 2002 to 2011. So this like 9 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, and he's like just a normal little dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't see him like he's like some crazy psycho. He's just writing stuff. He just, you know.
Yeah.
He's like some guy in his mom's basement or whatever,
yeah.
Right?
Just putting things together, trying to figure it out.
So next we go to everybody's favorite, which is Alex Jones, right?
That's when I started getting into conspiracy theories. Alex Jones, going down major YouTube rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. I loved his manic energy.
Yeah, the dude is manic. Really, Alex Jones started and became famous through Waco. Okay. So Alex Jones was just like a kind of like a low-end newscaster from Austin, Texas.
So he really was a newscaster?
Yeah, but just for like radio.
Oh,
like he had his own radio show.
Oh, got it.
Right. So he started in 2000. In 2000, right after Waco, he went there and he like had this big inspirational kind of thing, and he spoke against the atrocities that happened to the people. He even tried to help the Branch Davidians rebuild. Mm-hmm. And during the whole Branch Davidian thing, David Koresh and some of the people would call Alex Jones' radio station. Mm-hmm. And he would try and get like public opinion to kind of speak against what was going on. Mm-hmm. And that's really what created Alex Jones. Is he was defending the people at Waco. Mm-hmm. That's really what got him going. You know what I mean? Was this...
what was the Waco incident called? Did they ever...
It was Waco.
Just Waco?
Yeah, so it was just Waco. And then they were Branch Davidians. Mm-hmm. One of my friends is a surviving Branch Davidian. So he literally left before all this went down. And they called him, I think, during... all the chaos that was happening with the FBI and the Branch Davidians, and they like to try and talk them down or whatever, right?
That's so crazy.
And they just murdered everybody.
It's so crazy.
But Alex Jones, he kind of like went on the stage, and then he kind of started the radio. He was more on radio. Radio was kind of the big thing for all these guys. Mm-hmm. And then he blew up on social media and YouTube. He kind of was the first one to really take it to that next step of YouTube and social media and really corner that market. And then he became like the big conspiracy theory channel guy. Mm-hmm. And he's done everything from... He's sneaking into Bohemian Grove.
Yes.
Right? So Bohemian Grove is this like place in California, Redwoods, and he got a free pass from somebody, and he like literally smuggled him in. Yes. To their big seance that they have.
And he was recording, right?
Yeah, he recorded.
Like video.
Yeah, you can look it up.
Yes.
It's still on YouTube.
It's so cool.
and they worship a big owl,
Mm-hmm.
and they say all this, and they burn a body on a lake, and they're saying all these things, and it's all the heads of state, politicians,
yeah.
and big like media people, and like they have pictures of Nixon and Reagan and like different people there, right?
Yeah.
I think Nixon is quoted as saying is the biggest bunch of, and he used the F word, but gay people he's ever met, right? So, but that was back with Nixon time, right? And so Nixon literally was talking about it like that, and but just a bunch of guys, I guess, where they can go lay their hair down, and nobody will like record them or know what's going on or whatever. So he broke in there, he recorded the whole thing, busted it wide open or whatever.
Yeah. And people were talking about it, saying that that's a thing, and then he had video of it.
Yeah, you can't argue with
that. You
that.
cannot, and you see it. Even hearing you talk about it, it's like, are politicians really doing that? And then you can find a video of them doing that.
Yeah. Like Henry Kissinger, like all the big people that were, around at the time, like George Bush, all those guys were there. Mm-hmm. And then so then you have the Bohemian Grove, and then you have, what was the next big one? Was probably, he spoke against the war in Iraq, the Iraqi war and the weapons of mass destruction, mainly because he spoke against it because he was like a 9/11 truther. Mm-hmm. So he didn't believe that, that the planes brought down the Twin Towers. Mm-hmm. He talked a lot about, he made all these documentaries, and then he makes claims about the different agendas that are going on. Like he brought up Agenda 21, and now we're at Agenda 2030, right? That's the new agenda.
Yep.
And just stuff like that. He speaks against global warming, the chemtrails. He talks a lot about, like, it's funny, he's kind of like taking the reins of the William Cooper theology, where he has to back up what he's saying. Mm-hmm. He's not just saying it to say it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's his biggest thing? He's always, I got the papers right here.
Right here. I got the papers right here.
Right? He's always like, I got the papers. And he's quoting like obscure newspapers and certain dates of the year. And, he got in trouble speaking against Sandy Hook right now. He said that they were like actors, crisis actors, which was like a big thing going on. Yeah. Around that time, I remember seeing that stuff coming up, and it wasn't just him saying it. It was a bunch of people saying it in the conspiracy theory world. Yeah. And they were like saying that because there was like 3 or 4 kids that showed up in every one of these mass shootings. Wow. There's like that little white kid, that little white boy. I can see his face in my head. And he was at every single one of them being interviewed afterward. And I'm like, that's the same kid that was in this other place, Yeah. I remember that. That was like one of the biggest things that kind of threw me for a loop. Yeah. You can even talk about like the Las Vegas shooting that nobody talks about. Yeah. And how there was multiple shooters, but they won't say that there's multiple shooters. Like big stuff like that Alex Jones broke wide open. Yes. And then he spoke against the Q movement. He was anti-Q movement. Where it was a big psyop is what he would say. And then it turned out that the Q movement was a big psyop to get people to invade the Capitol building. And was it January 6th? Is that what they did? And it was just a big psyop by all these people. We're going to take back the country. And it was like these really nice design videos. I remember watching some of the videos and I was like, what? And then we go on like 4chan. And like decipher these hidden things that Q would drop. Yeah. It was like Q drops.
Yeah. It was interesting. Like, I never got into the Q stuff. It just didn't resonate. Because I'll see things and I'll do, deep dives, go down the rabbit hole. And just nothing about the Q stuff it just seemed weird. Yeah. And I like weird, but it just like, I never got into it.
Yeah, like, I don't know how that whole thing made sense, and they would push it like it was from Trump, like somebody in Trump's administration was like leaking these things. Yeah. and like Trump's the one behind it, and
Yeah.
like, oh, Trump went to a rally and he pointed at a guy that had a Q shirt on. That means that he's with Q.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and you're like, And one of the biggest Q conspiracies was that John F. Kennedy's son, Robert, he had his own magazine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that they said he was going to run for Senate.
Mm-hmm.
And the person, you know who he was going to run against?
Who?
Take a wild guess.
I don't know.
Any idea? You know who he was going to run against? John F. Kennedy's son. And he was like a beautiful guy. He was really gorgeous.
Yeah.
Have you seen pictures of this guy?
No.
Oh yeah, like the girls.
The gorgeous dude.
And then he was like the king of America. Like,
yeah.
Who could have more authority than Robert, like John F. Kennedy? Who would be more beloved?
Yeah.
Than John F. Kennedy's kid, the kid that's saluting.
Yeah.
Right. You remember the picture of him by the in the Oval Office saluting, right? But he was going to run against Hillary Clinton for Senate.
Oh, damn.
In New York City, right?
Wow.
And he died in a plane crash like 6 months before or something like that, before he was going to run.
Do you think he got Clinton?
Well, I think he was the first Clinton.
Damn.
And this is after Bill Clinton was already president, right? And then Hillary ran for Senate, right? And they were in New York. Go figure. But he talked about the birther thing. So Alex Jones was a big birther.
What's that?
For Obama. That he's not a because something's wrong with his birth certificate.
Yeah.
And so he has like documentaries that are called like the Obama deception, right? He talked a lot about the Bushes.
Yeah.
And how the Bush family are, connected to Skull and Bones, and like Prescott Bush was like part of the Nazis, right? He funded the Nazis. He was the CIA director, stuff like that, and how they're connected to like this whole occult thing. Yeah, and then they talked about the Clintons and how the Clintons are connected to all of the drug trafficking, human trafficking in Mexico. All of the drug trafficking in Mexico is run by the CIA. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have, I'm trying to think. So then you have 9/11, then you have all that, and then you get to the Sandy Hook thing, and then you have election fraud, and then you have COVID and 5G. So the only two that are still talking right now are David Icke and Alex Jones, and both of them talked against 5G and COVID-19. So both of them are kind of like on that same bandwagon.
Yeah.
Speaking against the vaccines, the COVID-19, they call them like the plandemic, right?
Yes.
And how the 5G towers are like messing with our bodies, and, stuff like that. Like,
it's been crazy watching, like, starting in 2020, just all of the things that Alex Jones was saying is gonna happen. Like, Alex Jones was right. Like, we really do need to make t-shirts. Alex Jones was right, because he was like right.
Yeah, about a lot of things.
And it's weird. Like, I loved hearing about it. I'd have it in the back of my mind. No real proof. Like, I don't know, but I want to know about it. And then just all of these things just start actually happening in real life. The pandemic, like, well, Alex Jones was right.
The same thing like about like the Ukraine-Russian thing, and how America was going to go to war with Russia, and how we were going to create this thing. He was talking about it years ago, and how they were going to take, different rides, and they were going to print money to oblivion, and how gas prices were going to go up.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
We're watching it happen right now.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. You could probably Google list of things that Alex Jones predicted that are happening today.
It's happening.
If Google lets you. Because it's funny, like, when I was doing this research, if I didn't know these people's names, it would not come up on Google.
Yeah, no.
So if I put up original conspiracy theorists in American history, none of these people come up. All it comes up is like Alex Jones now is sued by the Sandy Hook survivors' parents or whatever, and they're like this, and it's all just negative stuff. how conspiracy theories are destroying the family and like all these funny things. And I'm like, I'm going through it. I'm like, it's not even on page 2. Like there's not one article of my exact search.
Yeah.
You know, like somebody hasn't made a list of everybody in history, in American history, that have
there's
created
not a blog theories about it or something. Yeah.
Like I'm not a Reddit guy, but maybe on Reddit or something.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. You know, that's the story. I think that's kind of the quintessential thing of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Definitely, from my perspective, when I was 14 and I knew about a lot of this stuff and I would talk to somebody, first thing they would say, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Now I tell people about it and they're like listening to you.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're like, oh, the Federal Reserve is not, like everybody knows now that the Federal Reserve is not federal.
Yeah.
And it has no reserves.
Yeah.
Right? And that it's a privately owned company.
Yeah.
But if I told you that 10 years ago, people would think you're crazy.
You're crazy. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I told you people that, like that the Federal Reserve is no more federal than Federal Express, right? And that the currency is not backed by anything, people would be like, that's crazy. But like that stuff was not common knowledge 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago, people would think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But now, for whatever reason, everything is coming to light that was previously, like, I don't want to say hidden, but it was not commonly known.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the internet. Maybe that's why they're trying to stifle a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Is that maybe the internet like tried to stop it, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, because a lot of these people you've never.
Yeah, I had never known about them.
What kind of questions do you have?
So the things I think about, things that really interest me, I really like, I want to go in a deep dive on the guy who talks about alien stuff. Because and like reptilian stuff, it never super resonated. Like I'd see these videos where people are like, look at this is a video of Hillary Clinton, and watch, she's gonna blink and her second eyelids come out, and it doesn't really look like that. It just looks like it's quick and it's grainy. So I want to do a better deep dive into those types of things. And whenever I talk about conspiracy theorists with people are always like, but why? Like, what's the point? Like, why are these groups of people trying to hurt their own country? Or, so, and we've talked about the why too. Like, why? What's the point of hurting everybody or all of this stuff?
I think that, so to me, and that's my skill. My skill is to filter in massive amounts of information to hone it down to be like, this is what I think.
Yeah.
That's my gift, whatever you could call it. So, I don't, like a lot of these people, they have all this different information. And I'm not going to say that all this information is correct.
Yeah.
Like, I'm definitely not going to say that.
Yeah.
So it goes back to the original conspiracy that the devil is trying to win as many souls to himself, to his side as possible. Because he's already lost and he just hates humanity.
Yeah.
Okay. So that thought, right? So the other way that they think, so this is the way that I think as a Christian. The other way is the way that the Luciferians believe, the Illuminati, the Masons, all these guys, the high level guys, right? And I'm not saying all Masons, because most Masons have no idea of anything.
Yeah, they haven't got to the level where they know. Yeah,
you have to get to like the 32nd degree, and then you have to prove yourself that you're worthy to even be trusted with the information, right? You could read the books, like you could read Morals and Dogma and by Albert Pike. You could read, some of their already written stuff that actually says it in their books, right? So you could read those books and you find it out. Okay, because it's written there and it's in every lodge.
Yeah.
The Luciferians believe is that God captured humanity and that the devil freed them. Well, they don't say the devil, they say Lucifer freed them with knowledge, right? He illuminated them so that they could get it right. So if you see the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, it was knowledge, and they ate it and they gained the knowledge, right, of good and evil. And that's how he freed them. Okay, so that's the one side that they look at it. This is they say that God is the conspirator, and the other side is that the devil is the conspirator. Yeah. Right? So you have to make your own decision on which way you want to believe, but that's the opposite of the opposition. So I tend to believe, I believe that the evil is trying to take over, right, and trying to keep as many souls for themselves. So when Jesus met the devil, and he was already fasted, right, for 30 days, he took him up to the mountain, and he offered him all the cities of the world. And he says, I'll give you all the cities of this world if you will just kneel down and worship me, right? And Jesus didn't correct him and say, you can't offer me these worlds, right? He says, you shouldn't tempt God, right? He spoke against what he was saying, so he denied his thing, but he didn't say that the devil didn't have the authority to offer him the kingdoms of the world. Yeah. So in a sense, he is the king of the world, right? The other one was Elijah was praying, right? And he was praying, he was fasting and praying, and I forget how many days, but when the angel, I think it was Gabriel, got there to him, he says, I was sent immediately when you started to pray, but it was the I'm going to say it wrong, but it was like the evil angel over this city that fought against me for 45 days or something like that. Yeah. So he said it buffeted me. Yeah. So it prevented me from coming in to answer your prayer, right? So that's how I see it, is that there's powers and rulers over these dark places, over this world, and until Christ comes back, then we're not going to be able to be in full control over the world, right? Yeah. Because they're controlled by the evil powers that fell to this earth, and like all of the Greek gods, the Roman gods, all these different gods, they're just fallen angels that went down to the people and they started worshiping these gods. That's all it is, right? So that's my theory on everything. So it all kind of comes back to that first principle of, does it match with the biblical take of everything and history, right, together? And then does it make sense? So then you just kind of put it together with these different things. So
I like that.
You know, yeah. I think that aliens, ghosts are just fallen angels and demons, right? They're not, there's no humans stuck on this plane. There's no...
like human souls.
Yeah, there's no human souls. Yeah. There's no other aliens in the universe. There's none of that exists. I don't believe in any of that stuff. Yeah. Now, do I believe that there's fallen angels and demons? 100% yes. Okay. And can those angels and demons come in different forms and make different things? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You know that's one of the things with like psychics or people that say that they have spirit guides, like Jesus is their spirit guide, or angels are their spirit guide, or this, that, the other. So I've gone down rabbit holes on those things and listened to what people have to say about all of that, and it just that they're being deceived, and they're playing in a realm where they don't realize, because you don't know, like you can be deceived so easy. You think, oh, they're helping me, look at, they're guiding me, they've assisted in this, that, the other, and they know things, and in all of my rabbit holing, you know, and then like reading the Bible and like praying about things and trying to figure out what I believe on the subject, it's demons. Yeah. 100%. It's just demons talking to people and leading them down different ways.
So let me tell you the difference Now, this is my theory on demons and fallen angels. In Genesis 6, when human beings began to increase in numbers on the earth and daughters were born of them, the sons of God saw the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal, and their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, where the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children with them, and they were heroes of old, men of renown. Okay, so now this is pre-Noamic times. Okay, this is before the flood. So the idea is that these angels came down, mated with women, right? Because they literally talk about humans and sons of God in like the same 4 chapters. Why would they? Because a lot of Bible theologians say the sons of God were just the sons of Seth. But why would they make a distinction?
Human and
sons of God rather than white sons of Seth, right? Why wouldn't it say that?
Yeah.
Okay, so sons of God, and they mated with them, and then they had offsprings, which they called the Nephilim, right? And the Nephilim created this hybrid, hence Hercules. Mythological people that had the deities of God, the power of some of the gods with their gods, right? Lower G.
Yeah.
And they had special abilities, but they don't have a place in heaven or in hell because they were not created by God. They're like freaks.
Yeah.
They don't have any place to go. So they're the ones that die and stay on this plane, hence our demons.
Oh.
Get it?
I like that.
Because fallen angels are eternal.
Yeah.
And they don't have a human body. They're just spirit.
Yeah.
They don't need to possess people. They're in their current place.
Yeah.
The reason that the fallen, that the Nephilim that die, that become demons, don't have a place is because they were created to have a body.
Wow.
And so they don't have a place to go. So that's why they want to possess people.
Okay.
So that they could feel again.
Yeah.
They could be normal again.
Yeah.
So this is my theory, right?
Yeah.
This is, don't take it to...
I like that though. That kind of...
It makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Right.
And when you make the distinction of fallen angels and demons, I was wondering why, and that makes sense. Yeah. Totally.
So when you see why there's demons and why they're so smart, because they've been around since Noah's time, right?
Yeah.
So this is the guy, they understand human nature.
Yeah.
They understand how you work, how you think. They've seen a million humans. Now, they don't have control. They don't have access to your brain and your heart like God does.
Yeah. They can't read your mind.
They can't read your mind. They don't know what it is. But they might whisper something in your ear. They might give you subtle hints. They might put stuff in the TV. And they're the ones that are kind of behind the scenes in everything that's going on. They're like the devil's little worker bees, right?
Are they like, familiar spirits? Are they the familiar spirits?
They're all that stuff.
Yeah.
So when people are meditating and talking to people, they're going to seem a lot more wise than anybody you've ever met on this earth because they've been around for, 10,000 years or whatever. And
it's just a distraction.
Yeah. They're just manipulating you. Anything that they can take you away from God is success.
Yeah.
They don't care if you become rich and famous, if you have a really nice family and a house. As long as you go to hell, they don't care.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
So, you could be an atheist. You don't have to be, in the desert in a hoodie burning a chicken. Yeah. That's what most Christians believe that the devil is doing, is trying to get people to burn chickens and black cats. Yeah. That's not what it is. Yeah. In like a big cauldron and like boil in trouble or whatever that saying is, right? No. They're trying to make going to hell sexy. Yeah. They're trying to make not being a follower of Christ sexy. They're trying to make Christians out to be weird and against human nature and like anti-choice, right? Because we're pro-life or whatever. Like, how crazy is it that people think that somebody that believes in life is crazy? Like, oh, how dare you believe in life? Like, how you dare tell a woman to do what it is? Like I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Maybe I'm just trying to protect innocent life. You know what I mean? Is that such a bad thing?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
I do.
It's not that I'm trying to tell you what to do. It's just that I'm trying to protect life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not judging you. Like I have friends that have done it. And I'm not like, I don't hate them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And most of the time, if you talk to somebody that has done it, they probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
You know, or they probably would rather have not done the act or had some protection. Like, we live in the 21st century. Like, you can take birth control. You can get a condom, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Make better, different choices.
Yeah.
All of the people
or do the rhythm method like Catholics, or how you pull out game is. Right?
Yes.
Don't trust the pull out game. It don't work. You know what I mean? So that's no fun anyway. That's the best part.
Yeah.
But just put something on, take something. Like,
protect yourself.
Be responsible.
Smart. Be responsible.
What happened
be
is responsibility.
Smart. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when my son, I wasn't ready. He was out of wedlock. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a house. I didn't have nothing. But you know what? It's fine. It's the best thing. Like, I wouldn't trade him for all those things. His house, my job, my car. Like, are you serious? He's my son. Like, I wouldn't give anything to exchange for that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So don't take it lightly. Just because it's inconvenient. Yeah. Doesn't mean that it's bad.
Yeah. One of the things that people don't talk about when somebody makes the decision to have an abortion is how traumatic it is as well. They make it seem like it's like, oh, just take a pill, just do this, just do that, like super easy, like you'll never even know. Like,
there's stuff in there.
There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of physical trauma. There's a lot of mental trauma. Yeah. A lot of times women end up doing it alone. And like,
don't tell anybody.
They don't tell anybody, and then they suffer, and then they're sad. There's an experience that one of my friends told me about where she did it all alone. I don't know how far along, but it was enough to just do the pill. And she like aborted the baby in a toilet in a hotel by herself. And on the instructions, they told her, like, don't look. She looked, and she was devastated at the decision that she had made. And it's people don't talk about the real stuff behind that decision.
I didn't even think about looking.
Yes.
Good grief.
So sad. That's and like terrifying. That's like a thing that she had to flush her baby. Oh God. She was by herself. Oh man. Imagine? And she was a teenager. Like, this is like that's the thing about that topic. Like, it's real. It's not just like, woo, let's just get a vacuum down, not a big deal. No, like, I know a woman, she goes to the church. I don't know if you know her. She runs a pregnancy help center. Her name is Lisa Backus, and she talks about her story.
Okay, I was like, you're telling her name?
Yeah, no, yeah. She talks about her story a lot, and she ended up infertile after having an abortion. She was never able to have babies, and that's why she talks about abortion so much. And she, because that's a thing that happens. That's a major consequence that could happen. And nobody talks about the consequences of that. They only discuss like, oh, the life is gone, and now you get to, live your life without a baby. And if that's what you want, awesome. But there's a lot that goes into it.
And if you really
don't talk about.
If you really think about, like, I'm going to be a little extreme here, but whatever. If you really think about it, so we talk about, like, for whatever reason, Hitler is like the most famous crazy person in history. Like, and like Mao and these other guys are way worse, right? But we just use Hitler, okay? So Hitler, right? And Hitler, killed 6 million Jews, right? European Jews, right? At least, right? So we talk about that in this horrible Holocaust, right? Like, it's devastating.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can talk, like, if you can Google how many abortions.
Oh, yeah. And then the demographic, that's very interesting, too.
Yeah. So just in 2020, there was 930,000. Jeez, that's crazy. That's like a million a year.
That's a lot. This whole country would be very different.
Think about it.
A huge, like a lot, I don't know the numbers, but a huge majority of those are in the Black community.
Yeah. That's 100%.
Yeah. And like if all these babies were born, like this whole nation would look very different.
Very different.
Mm-hmm.
Very different. And it's not like you could say that about Germany, right? And they killed these people, right? But would you say that those Jewish people were more innocent or less innocent than a baby? Like, I don't think there's anything more innocent than a baby. Right?
Yeah.
And it's just like this huge tragedy.
Yeah.
You know, huge tragedy. And I don't know. I'm a big believer in like what you sow and what you reap, right? And as a country, like, I just don't like that we're sowing this kind of seed. Now, there's extreme situations with like rape and incest and that the mother might die or whatever.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, it's like a very small percentage. It's like 1 or 2%.
Rape and incest are a small percentage. And then with like ectopic pregnancies and things like that, those are not considered abortions. Those are considered other, like with an ectopic pregnancy. Like,
what's ectopic?
So the fertilized egg is supposed to get, what's it called when it like implants? It's going to implant in the uterus.
Okay.
Instead of implanting in the uterus, it implants in a fallopian tube. So as the baby starts to grow, that tube will burst. The woman will be in extreme pain, bleed out, and die. So when they realize that there's an ectopic pregnancy, they do have to terminate that. But the process of that is called something else, and the mom and the baby will both die if they don't. Like, this is like, that's not going to be a
there's no way for it to
no one's going to live in that situation. It's like that's a non-viable pregnancy.
Yeah.
And there are other situations that mainly ectopic
It's still
pregnancy,
probably traumatic for the women.
it's extremely traumatic. Yeah.
I've seen that's not that specifically, but you know, where you have miscarriages or whatever, and it's traumatic.
Yeah, miscarriage is very traumatic.
You know, as
It's
a guy,
very sad.
I don't know anything about all this stuff.
Yeah.
I just see it from the outside.
Yeah.
Right. Like my little baby, she's a rainbow child, right? Little Abigail. And I didn't know when it happened that it was such a big deal. And it really, like, I still don't have, like, you know, I had to, like, kind of gain back this, you know, thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know it was such a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, okay, maybe we should talk about it so she can get over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than like, hey, let's talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't, you know, as a guy, we don't have any idea of like, what's going on.
Yeah. I've had a miscarriage before,
Oh,
and Jake did not know what, like.
Yeah, we don't know what to do.
He's just like, they're there.
We
and
don't
like,
even know what to do with a regular pregnancy, much less a.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
It's a lot.
I don't know. I don't know why we got on that subject. But, I do think it's definitely one of those things that it's just, there's a lot that's going on in our country, and you know, it's to seek truth. It doesn't make for everything being nice and rosy.
Yeah.
And that we don't paint a picture that people in power don't have an agenda, that are not seeking a certain goal.
Yeah.
And they're not being influenced by other people.
Yeah.
You know, like, I truly believe unless you're, you know, born again, you can be influenced to do whatever. It's very much back to the Matrix, where the agent can go into the other person and make him do whatever he wants, right?
Yeah.
And then go back out of him, right? because they don't care,
Yeah.
and they're an open vessel that have not been refilled yet.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So when you become a believer and you accept Christ, you get filled with the Holy Spirit, right? You get a new spirit, and since you can't get, in a sense, possessed fully like other people can. Like, you ever been in a situation where you're like, I don't know why this person is so crazy right now, because like for the last 5 years they've been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, that's kind of what I see is like they just, like, he got him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, he's trying to do that.
I think one thing I hope with like this podcast and with society as a whole, I hope that people are able to have real conversations about things and be real about them. You can agree to disagree. You can choose to not, to believe whatever you want to believe. But like back with like the abortion thing, people are like, oh, it's not really a baby. It's going to be a human life. Like, let's start on like a level playing field of like truths and not truths, and then you can add your opinion on top of it and believe whatever you want to believe, but have real conversations about things and be real about them, and then you can believe whatever you want. It's just really weird having convos with people where they're like, oh well, this is just a blah blah blah. It's like, but no, like, let's be real,
Yeah. That's good that you came on to talk about this, because it's weird for a guy to talk about it. Right? It's like, what do you know?
You don't get to have an opinion.
You never had a period. I was like, thank God.
Yeah.
But it's just a difference, you know what I mean? And it's not that I'm seeking truth. And truth will set you free.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live in a lie.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, no matter how inconvenient or how it makes you feel or what happens, you know what I mean? I know people's feelings are important, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but truth is truth. And if you're going to go down this rabbit trail and chase the white rabbit, right, you're going to find things that are not true, that you thought were true, but are not true.
Yeah. That are uncomfortable.
Yeah, uncomfortable truths. And the good thing is that at the end of the day, you will end up on the other side of it. You know what I mean? So maybe one day we'll go into some of these other conspiracies.
Yes, I want
the actual guys.
Yes.
Maybe we'll buy Behail the Pale Horse and read it.
Yes. Yes.
And then you'll be like,
oh my gosh.
It's the aliens.
Yes. And you guys, let us know any conspiracy theories you want us to talk about. If you want us to do deep dives on anything, leave it in the comments.
She wants to go into reptilians. I know.
I do. I want to know. Because that one doesn't like... I haven't seen anything where it's so... There's so much about it. And I haven't seen anything that I'm like...
It's concrete, yeah.
Maybe. But I do believe where there's smoke, there's
David
fire.
Icke's the guy to go to. He's the big...
Okay. I'm going to start doing all that.
With him and whatever. I don't know.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, I just feel like there's got to be some truths in some of it.
Yeah. I don't know. The crazy one is the spaceships and the UFOs and them finding them and then the bodies.
Yes.
I read one that was crazy that they said that they... what it was is they got like handicapped children and
to pretend that they were aliens,
and they would put them in these planes and stuff, and they would like mutilate the bodies and stuff.
Ed,
yeah,
I've never heard that.
So bad.
My heart.
Oh no, some of the conspiracies that I've gone into is pretty bad.
I hope not.
Yeah, some of the rabbit trails are pretty bad.
Oh gosh. All right.
So that'll leave you with this high note about your green people. That they're actually not.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Okay, guys. Have a nice day. God bless you guys. And we'll see you on the next one.
See you later.
Stay safe out there.